As you reach for your wallet after a delightful meal at a restaurant, you find yourself asking, how much should I tip? It's a question we've all faced, an unwritten rule we all abide by. But have you ever stopped to wonder why? Why has this optional act of gratitude transformed into a mandatory social obligation? Tipping culture, particularly in countries like the United States, is indeed perceived by many as being out of control for a few reasons. First, subminimum wage. In some countries, tipped workers can be paid less than the minimum wage, with the expectation that tips will make up the difference. This is an issue because it shifts the responsibility of paying a living wage from the employer to the customer. This puts enormous pressure on both the customer to tip, regardless of the level of service, and on the employee who relies on tips for their livelihood. Second, increasing tip percentages. Over the years, the standard tipping percentage has crept up. What was once a 10% tip has now become 15% or 20%, and even higher in some establishments. This increase in expected tip percentage can make dining out or using certain services unaffordable for some people. Third, tipping for non-exceptional service. Tipping was initially meant to reward exceptional service. However, it has become expected for all services, regardless of quality. This can sometimes lead to complacency in service industries, where employees may not feel motivated to provide superior service since they expect a tip either way. Fourth, mandatory tips. Some establishments add a mandatory tip or service charge to the bill, especially for larger parties. This takes away the customer's discretion on how much to tip based on the quality of service. Mandatory tipping can lead to dissatisfaction and frustration among customers. Fifth, tipping in more industries. Tipping has expanded beyond the restaurant industry. Now, it's common to tip hairdressers, delivery drivers, hotel staff, baristas, and more. This proliferation of tipping can be confusing and burdensome for customers, who are left unsure of when and how much to tip. Sixth, lack of transparency. There is often a lack of transparency around tipping. Customers may not know where their tips are going, whether they are distributed among staff, or if they are used to make up the wage of the employee. This lack of clarity can lead to mistrust and frustration. Seventh, dependency. Tipping has created an unhealthy dependency for workers who rely on tips. This makes them vulnerable to fluctuations in business and the whims of customers. It also means they can struggle to prove their income, which can be problematic for things like securing loans or mortgages. Tipping culture is seen as out of control because it has become an expected and ever-increasing cost for consumers. It's a system that places the burden of wage payment onto the customer, and it can make dining or using services a confusing and potentially stressful experience.